Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Stars and Scrubs Fantasy Show. I'm your host, Trevor Stewart. We're back again for another week breaking down the NFL free agent acquisitions and checking out how their fantasy value translates into next season. So let's jump right in. We start in Indianapolis where DevinFunchess signs a one-year deal with the Colts, and I gotta say I really love this deal for both sides. For the Colts, it gives them a real number 2 wide receiver next to T.Y. Hilton, and it gives them a guy with size. Now Andrew Luck has shown he really likes to throw the tight ends. Ebron and Doyle really feasted in red zone targets last season, and I think DevinFunchess could also benefit from that. Big frame receiver, 6'4", has great red zone potential, but he just fell out of favor with the Carolina Panthers, who seem to not be able to know how to use the big receiver. It happened with Kelvin Benjamin, and it's happened again now with DevinFunchess, just not quite linking up with Cam. And they're going in favor of some of the younger, speedier receiver types. So what DevinFunchess has going for him is he's just going to turn 25 before the season starts. Still very young, still can really grow into a much better receiver. He hasn't had any more than 63 catches in a season, but that season that he did, he had 8 touchdowns. He has red zone potential due to his 6'4" frame and being able to go get those jump balls in the corner. The only thing that is troubling about DevinFunchess to me is that his catch rate percentage is fairly low. His highest season of catch rate percentage was 56.8%. Again, last year's leader was Michael Thomas at 85%. So there are quite a few balls that DevinFunchess either drops, or let's shift some of the blame maybe to Cam Newton's accuracy, because that has been an issue in the past. Put those two things together and you get a pretty subpar number for a catch rate percentage. So another great thing for Funchess is he gets to upgrade at quarterback. Going from Cam Newton to Andrew Luck is a huge upgrade. Anyone who tells you different is lying to you. That is a huge upgrade to me. On a team that will score points, we saw the Colts were able to put up points. They have the weapons. They have T.Y. Hilton. They have Eric Ebron. They have Jack Doyle. They have even some semblance of a running game when Marlon Mack can stay healthy. All they're missing is a really good number 2 receiver, and I think Funchess can really fill that role. If we're looking at our scale for team fit, I'm going to give him a 5. I think this is a great fit for Funchess. I think this is a great fit for the Colts. This is the epitome of a win-win situation for a player and a team. He gets a 1-year contract to prove that this last couple years in Carolina, where he's really fallen off, was not all on him, and he gets to showcase himself. Durability, I'm going to give him a 5. Hasn't missed many games in his career. Solid contributor and he's always healthy. For volume, I'm going to give him 4. Because again, I think that the Colts want to move the ball. I think they're going to keep throwing it. I think they are going to mix in their run game as it continues to get better. But they want to move the ball. Andrew Luck wants to push it down the field to T.Y. Hilton. T.Y. Hilton is that take the top off the defense kind of guy. That leaves the middle of the field and those corners open for DevinFunchess. As far as projection, I'm going to give him a 4 out of 5. I think that he can have a real big bounce back year this year, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how the Colts deploy him. So if you're asking me on our star to scrub scale, DevinFunchess next year, I got to say I'm pretty interested. I think he's going to have a great year. I think it's a big bounce back year, and I think that it's not going to look good for the Carolina Panthers and Cam Newton when DevinFunchess scores 7 or 8 touchdowns this year. Our next contestant, we go to Oakland. The Raiders signed TyrellWilliams from the San Diego Chargers. It's interesting when you see the comparisons between TyrellWilliams and the player we just highlighted, DevinFunchess. Very similar players. The similarities are kind of eerie, actually. Both 6'4", both big, rangy receivers, both great, big red zone threats. Also, they both have a star receiver next to them who's more of the speedster style. T.Y. Hilton for DevinFunchess, Antonio Brown for TyrellWilliams. The only problem is TyrellWilliams got worse at quarterback instead of better. Going from Phillip Rivers to Derek Carr is kind of the equivalent of going to Morton's Steakhouse to get a steak and then being served a McDonald's Big Mac. It's just not the same. Not going to work wonders for TyrellWilliams. However, what he does have in his favor is that I think he'll see an uptick in volume. When he was playing for the Chargers, a lot of other weapons. You got Melvin Gordon commanding a lot of touches, Keenan Allen, and even Antonio Gates, who even in his late stage of career still commanded some touches. And then you got Hunter Henry when healthy as well. TyrellWilliams further down the depth chart in that lineup. The one thing I do see working in TyrellWilliams' favor is that he does have Antonio Brown on the other side of the field. And teams are going to be gearing up to stop AB. The Raiders don't have a wealth of talent, but they do have a superstar. Defenses will be gearing up to overplay Antonio Brown, which should leave TyrellWilliams some space. What he does with that space, and if Derek Carr can throw it accurately to him in said space, that's a whole nother story. We'll see how that goes. For team fit, I'm going to give him a 4. I think this is a good fit for both teams. I think TyrellWilliams gets the chance to really be a number 2 or number 3 receiver, depending on how the depth chart works out. But I think he has the chance to get more targets. And I think he has the ability to do something with those targets. Durability is going to be a 5. No markdown here. Doesn't miss games. Always ready to go. It's just a matter of if he's used. As far as volume goes, I'm going to give him a 4 out of 5 because I do think he will see enough volume because I think the Raiders will be playing from behind. And I think, again, teams are not going to let Antonio Brown beat them. They're going to double him. They're going to shade the safety over the top toward his side. That leaves some room for TyrellWilliams, who I think will have some value there on the outside. And I think we'll put up some decent numbers, albeit maybe in garbage time, but they all count the same. So as far as projection, I'm actually going to give TyrellWilliams a 4 because I think that he has really good potential. You've seen some of those flashes of being a really good receiver in San Diego, but he was just stuck behind too many other people. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm optimistic about the Raiders' season. Probably that's saying the opposite because, again, I think they're going to be playing from behind a lot. I think they're going to be having to throw the ball, and teams are going to try and stop Antonio Brown. So I might be a little more optimistic than some this year for TyrellWilliams, but I think he might be a nice sleeper that you just want to keep your eye on. And for me, on our scale of star to scrub, I'm interested. TyrellWilliams, you can put me down as interested. I'm buying some TyrellWilliams stock. Our final player we're going to dive into this week is JaredCook signing with the Saints. This is a big move for the Saints, and as far as the Saints offense is concerned, this is the best tight end they've had since Jimmy Graham. This is huge. Drew Brees has just been playing with a bunch of dudes at tight end, but now he's got a bona fide star in JaredCook, who's really aging like fine wine. In his 10th season, this last season, he set career highs in receiving yards, touchdowns, and catch percentage. And that was on a bad Raider team with Derek Carr. Now he moves up to Drew Brees, Hall of Fame, Super Bowl winning quarterback Drew Brees, as his quarterback. If you're not salivating at the possibility of this, you are crazy. The tight end pool is as thin as ever now that our party boy Rob Gronkowski retiring. Let's take a moment of silence for Gronk. Actually, let's not, because Gronk would never want that. Gronk would want you to blast up the techno music and keep pumping. I digress. JaredCook's going to be a great get this year. When you look at the tight ends, it's really Zach Ertz and Travis Kelce in a tier of their own, and then it's everybody else. But I think there's kind of that second tier where you look at some of those guys that at least get good consistency and can break off the big plays, and I think that JaredCook fits into that second tier. My only concern with JaredCook is simply how much volume will he get. On a Saints team that likes to spread the ball around and has ample star power, Michael Thomas, one of the best receivers in the league, Alvin Kamara, one of the best running backs in the league, who can also catch out of the backfield, will get the lion's share of the touches. But really beyond that, though, I will say there's not a clear-cut number 2 receiving option. We've seen the Saints' other receivers. Ted Ginn is always great for taking the top off a defense, always a good deep threat. But he's not as reliable of a second option of the passing game. And rookie Traquan Smith has shown some really great promise too. I think JaredCook can really make for some nightmare matchups for the Saints. And Sean Payton and Drew Brees will always take advantage of those. If they see him mismatched on a linebacker who can't cover him, they're going to him, and he is going to burn that secondary. JaredCook can have a case of the dropsies now and then, but you got to stick with him because he's a freak of an athlete. And at his size, there's just not many guys who can do what he does on an offense that's going to put up a crazy amount of points. So if we're going to go to our scale of team fit, I'm going to say a 5. I'm super pumped to see JaredCook and Drew Brees link up this season, and I think it's going to be something we see a lot. Durability, I'm going to give him a 4. He's been nicked up here and there. There's one season that he missed quite a few games, so we're going to have to mark him down for that. But overall, stays pretty healthy, tough guy, great target. Volume, I'm going to give him a 3 out of 5 because I just don't know how much that volume is going to be. We talked a little bit about the concern of Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara really dominating the touches. I feel like there's space for Cook to be that second receiving option for Drew Brees besides Michael Thomas. Volume's only half of it. What you do with it is the other half, which leads me to my projection, which is a 4 out of 5. I think that as much as Drew Brees likes to spread the ball around, if he sees a mismatch, he's going to go to JaredCook, and JaredCook has shown that he can bust out a big play and can be quite a weapon, even on a subpar team in Oakland last year. So I think he does well with whatever volume load he gets. So if you're asking me, start a scrub, JaredCook next season, I'm going to say star. I'm going all the way to the top. JaredCook will be a top 5 tight end next year. Put it down, pencil it in. No, Sharpie that in there. JaredCook, top 5 fantasy tight end next season. That's our show for this week. Thanks again for tuning in. Be sure to follow the @SportsTalkline Twitter at @SportsTalkline. My Twitter is @TPStewart8. Instagram TPS_SportsTalkline. We'll see you next week with another edition of the Stars and Scrubs Fantasy Show. Thanks.